Morning. Hello. Morning. Time to get our week started. Morning. How's everyone doing? How was everyone's weekend? Strange, the notification didn't pop back. It actually came in. Oh. Yeah, they're a little bit wonky doodle. The past day, all of a sudden, my TikTok notifications have been crazy. Oh, really? Day 5 of sickness. Gosh, that sounds terrible. Sounds terrible. We need to go grocery shopping today, which I don't really want to do, but, you know, we will anyway, I suppose. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Oh, this is important. I need to get into reading. What do you recommend? Well, you know, everyone has different preferences. It depends on the kind of genre you like. What kind of things do you like outside of reading? What kind of movies do you like? What kind of shows do you like? You know, because everyone's going to like different things. Everyone's going to like different things. If you know what genre you like, we can definitely make recommendations, but without a genre, it's really hard. Well, it doesn't have to be related to a movie, but if you say what genre of movies you like, people can usually help you with books. Like, if you just say, like, books in general, it's too broad because there's too many topics, you know? But, like, if you say, I really like romance, we could make romance suggestions. If you say, I really like horror, you know, we can make a horror suggestion. If you say, I really like just general fiction that is kind of speculative and interesting, oh, we can definitely do that. If you say, I like young adult novels, we can make suggestions for that. If you say, I like fantasy, you know, so everybody's different. You know, it's almost impossible to just give someone a blanket recommendation without a little more info about them. So that is something we can help with. Maybe some Disturbed will help. What does that mean? You mean the band? Land of Stories is good, but only if you like fantasy, right? If you don't like fantasy, Land of Stories is going to be really crappy. People who only read romance are going to hate Land of Stories, which is why I was hesitant to just make a blanket recommendation, you know? I definitely know people who don't like anything with any fantastical elements in it. My mom is one of those people. My mom would not read anything with any fantastical elements in it. So I'm always hesitant in my jump to recommend. I've read more of Jean, the one who wrote. Oh yeah, she was good. If you like romance or rom-coms, she's definitely a. Oops, shoot! Why did I do that? It's not what I meant to do at all. Oh well. is what it is. Is what it is. Yeah, I'm not against reading more by her. I just, I've had so many other things on my list. I'm trying to get through my list before adding more stuff to it. I'm about 75% through 2 different books right now, so I'm going to finish those first and then see how I feel. It's kind of the whole shebang. There we go. If you like fantasy without romance, a strong female lead, I have a book for you. You know what? I'm actually not a huge fantasy fan, believe it or not. I generally have a difficult time with fantasy. Like, for example, I definitely did not like Fourth Wing or Iron Flame. I'm like medium on Akhtar. I have a difficult time with those. I know that they are very popular and a lot of people really love them, but I am very medium on fantasy. It needs to be a very specific type. I'm usually okay with YA fantasy and like rewritten fairy tales. Yeah, those are romantasy, but I have friends who read like strict fantasy and they've suggested them to me before, and I'm always like, meh. I just get a little meh on them. I know a lot of people really, really love them, but I get a little bit like, if it's anything like Land of Stories, I'm probably into it, but if it's like regular fantasy, I feel like I'm one of the few that didn't jump on the Dune train. I have no interest in Dune. I saw the movies because Secret Husband loves them, but yeah, you can give the recommendation to other people, of course. Of course. You can't get into romantasy, that's fair. Yeah, I have a lot of friends like that, actually. My sister almost exclusively reads romantasy, which is funny. The Aragon series, yeah, I've heard about that. The Aragon series was really popular when I was a teacher, actually. The kids in my 7th grade class read that a lot when I was a teacher. That's the time period that was from, if I remember correctly. I think. Pretty sure. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, what's the recommendation in case other people want it? When I was in high school, we spent a full semester on the Dune book? Really? That's surprising. I didn't know that they read Dune in school. We definitely did not. I did not read Dune in school. 100%. That was not a thing. Yeah, it was popular when I was about that year. Yeah. I had a kid in 6th grade class that loved that series. Yeah. All right. So, for anyone who does not know, we are on the 2nd book of the Princess Diaries series, which is very exciting. Also, in case you didn't know, there's not really any gap. Oh, I'm glad to hear that, Katie. The time period gap between Princess Diaries 1 and Princess Diaries 2 is like, it's like nothing, right? So we jumped right in because there's no time period, like, it's not like 1 year later or anything like that. It's like literally like, like a week later, something like that. They don't say exactly, but like real close. So anyway, that's what we're doing. He was obsessed. We could also watch the movies. Really, Anya? That's not normal. I'm not gonna lie to you, Anya. That's not normal at all. That teacher might have been doing some weird things. I'm not sure that that's an appropriate for school movie. I've never seen it, but like, isn't it about someone who gives birth to the devil? I don't know. That might not be appropriate for school viewing. Weird. Okay, that teacher seems like, yeah, definitely not normal. Like, in my class, if we weren't doing work that day, she would put on like the movie version of Romeo and Juliet because we were reading Romeo and Juliet in class, We did stuff like that. or like West Side Story because it's a take on Romeo and Juliet, you know, things like that. That's pretty much like standard English class fare, you know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that teacher definitely wouldn't get away with that today. That's so weird. I mean, it's not that we didn't watch movies in school, but they had to be related in some way. Like in Latin class, we watched Spirited Away, you know, because there were like some things taken from like old myths and put into that. And so it was related and things like that. But I think you have to find some kind of through line to justify. I don't know how you justify Rosemary's Baby. Yeah, I don't know. Speaking as a former teacher, I got hives just thinking about trying to work that one out. You had to sign a form. Yeah, I can imagine that you would have to sign a form. And I would be like, I'm not signing this form because I don't want to watch this movie, so I'm going to go do something else. I hate this, whatever's going on here. I'm trying to figure out where it's coming from. Like where, I know it's bouncing off this, but like where's the start of this light? All the blinds are closed, so where is it coming from? I'd like to hear the reasoning. Me too. Well, that's a little better. We'll do that because that's just, at least it's not shining right in my eyes now. Well, anyway, let's read and we'll worry about the light later. Okay. So, Princess Diaries 2, much more appropriate than Rosemary's Baby. Maybe the teacher should play the Princess Diaries. I think it's coming from behind the blinds that's next to you. No, I moved all of those and... Oh yeah, something. You're right, it is. It is something. It helped a little bit, but not very much. I closed the gap in the blinds though, and it's still there. See? I closed it. I brought it all the way to the end. So I don't know. Well, anyway, we'll deal with it. At least it's not shining directly at us anymore. Okay. Tuesday, October 21st, 1 a.m. Hey, I thought my mom was a feminist who didn't believe in the male hierarchy and was against the subjugation and obfuscation of the female identity that marriage necessarily entails. At least that's always what she used to say when I asked her why she and my dad didn't get married. I always thought it's because he just never asked her. And maybe that's why she told me not to tell anyone just yet. She wants to let my dad know in her own way. That's what she says. All of this excitement, though, has given me a headache. Tuesday, October 21st, 2 a.m. Oh my God. I just realized that if my mom marries Mr. Gianni, that means he'll be living here. I mean, like, my mom would never move to Brooklyn where he lives. She always says that the subway aggravates her antipathy towards corporate hordes. I can't believe it. I'm going to have to eat breakfast every morning with my algebra teacher. And what happens if I accidentally see him naked or something like that? My mind could be permanently scarred. I'd better make sure to lock the bathroom door and that lock is fixed before he moves in. Now my throat hurts in addition to my head. Tuesday, October 21st, 9 a.m. When I woke up this morning, my throat hurt so much. I couldn't even talk. I could only croak. I tried croaking for my mom for a while, but she couldn't hear me. So then I began to bang on the wall, but all that did was make my Greenpeace poster fall down. And finally, I had no choice but to get up. I wrapped my comforter around me so that I wouldn't get a chill and get even sicker, and I went down the hall to my mom's room. To my horror, there was not one lump in my mom's bed, but two. Mr. Gianni stayed over. Oh, well, It's not like he hasn't already promised to make an honest woman out of her. Still, it is a little embarrassing to stumble into your mom's bedroom at 6 a.m. and find your algebra teacher in there with her. I mean, that kind of thing might warp a lesser person than myself. But whatever. I stood there croaking in the doorway, totally too freaked out to go in, and finally my mom cracked her eye open, and then I whispered to her that I was sick, and I told her that she'd have to call the attendance office at school and explain that I wouldn't be there today. I also asked her to call and cancel my limo and to let Lily know that we wouldn't be stopping by to pick her up. I also told her that if she was going to go to the studio, she'd have to get my dad or Lars, please not Gramir, to come to the loft and make sure that no one tried to kidnap or assassinate me while she was gone and I was in a weakened physical state. I think she understood, but it was hard to tell. I tell you, this princess business is no joke. Later, on Tuesday, my mom did stay home from the studio today. I croaked to her that she shouldn't, but as she has a show at the Mary Boone Gallery in about a month, and I know she only has about half the paintings done that she's supposed to have. And if she should happen to succumb to morning sickness, she's one dead realist. But she stayed home anyway. I think she feels guilty. I think she thinks my getting sick is her fault, like my anxiety over the state of her womb has weakened my autoimmune system, or something like that, which totally isn't true. I'm sure whatever it is I have, I picked up at school. Albert Einstein High School is just one giant petri dish of bacteria, if you ask me. What with the astonishing number of mouth breathers who go there? Yeah, anyway. About every 10 minutes, my guilt-ridden mother comes in and asks me if I want anything. I forgot she has a Florence Nightingale complex. She keeps making me tea and cinnamon toast with the crust cut off. It's honestly very nice, I must say. Except then she tried to get me some zinc to dissolve on my tongue, as one of her friends told her this is supposedly a good way to combat the common cold. That was not so nice. She felt bad about it when the zinc made me gag a whole bunch, and she ran down to the deli and bought me one of those king-size crunch bars to make up for it. Later, she tried to make me bacon and eggs in order to build up my strength, but that's where I drew the line. Just because I'm on my deathbed doesn't mean it's okay to abandon all my principles of being a vegetarian. My mother just took my temperature, 99.6. If this were medieval times, I would probably be dead. Temperature chart, 11:45 a.m., 99.2, 12:14 p.m., 99.1, 1:27 p.m., 98.6. This stupid thermometer must be broken. 2:05 p.m., 99.0, 3:35 p.m., 99.1. Clearly, if this keeps up, I will be unable to be interviewed by Beverly Belvedere on Saturday. Yippee! Even later on Tuesday, Lily just stopped by. She brought me all my homework. She says I looked wretched and that I sound like Linda Blair from The Exorcist. I've never seen The Exorcist, so I don't know if that's true or not. I don't like movies where people's heads spin around or where things come bursting out of their stomach. I like movies with beauty makeovers and dancing. Anyway, Lily says that the big news at school is that the it couple, Josh Richter and Lana Weinberger, got back together after having been broken up for one entire week, a personal record for both of them. Last time they broke up, it was for only like 3 days. And Lily says when she went by my locker to get my books, Lana was standing there in her cheerleading uniform, waiting for Josh, whose locker is next to mine. It is great. And I have to say, I agree with her. I also don't like movies where people's heads spin around, and I also prefer beauty makeovers and dancing. Girl after my own heart. Then, when Josh showed up, he laid a big wet one on Lana that Lily swears was the equivalent to an F5 on the Fujimoto scale of tornado suck zone intensity, making it impossible for Lily to close my locker again. How well I know this problem. Lily resolved the situation pretty quickly, however, by accidentally on purpose stabbing Josh in the spine with the tip of her number 2 pencil. I thought about telling Lily about my own big news, about my mom and Mr. G. I mean, she's gonna find out about it eventually anyway, but maybe it was just the infection coursing through my body. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I couldn't bear the thought of what Lily might say regarding the potential size of my future brother or sister's nostrils. Anyway, I have a ton of homework. Even the father of my unborn sibling, who you would think would feel an iota of sympathy toward me, loaded me down with homework. I tell you, there isn't a single perk to having your mother engaged to your algebra teacher. Not a single one. To be fair, same, but I also love The Exorcist, but it's scary even if I know what happens. I've never seen it, but I don't plan on it. I'm not gonna lie. Well, except like when he comes over for dinner and he helps me with the assignment, he doesn't give me the answers though, so I mostly still get 68s, and that's still a D. And I am really sick now. My temperature's gone up to 99.8. Soon it will reach 100. If this were an episode of ER, they would have practically put me on a respirator already. There is no way that I will be able to be interviewed by Beverly Belvedere now. No way. Teehee. My mom has her humidifier on here going full blast. Lily says my room is just like Vietnam, and why don't I at least crack a window for God's sake? I never thought of it before, but Lily and Gramere sort of have a lot in common. For instance, Gramere called a little while ago, and when I told her how sick I was and how I probably wouldn't be able to make the interview on Saturday, she actually chastised me. That's right. She chastised me like this was my fault that I got sick. And then she started going on and on about how on her wedding day she had a fever of 102, but she didn't let that stop her from standing through a 2-hour wedding ceremony and then riding in an open coach through the streets of Genovia, waving to the populace, and then dining on prosciutto and melone at her reception, and then waltzing until 4 a.m. No. You might not be too surprised to learn that It did not surprise me. That, Gramere said, is because being a princess does not use poor health as an excuse to shirk her duties and responsibilities to her people. As if the people of Genovia care about me doing some lousy interview for 24/7. They don't even get that show in Genovia. I mean, except for like the people who have satellite dishes, maybe. Lily's just as unsympathetic as Gramere. In fact, Lily isn't really very good as a soothing visitor to have at all when you're sick. She suggested that it was possible that I have consumption, like Elizabeth Barrett Browning. I said it was probably only bronchitis, and Lily said that's probably what Elizabeth Barrett Browning thought too before she died. Homework. Algebra. Problems at the end of chapter 10. English. In your journal, list your favorite TV show, movie, book, food, etc. World Civ. 1,000 word essay explaining the conflict between Iran and Afghanistan. Gifted and talented. Psh, as if. French. Écrivez une vignette en musant. Oh, right. Biology. The endocrine system. Get the answers from Kenny. God, what are they trying to do over there anyway? Kill me? Right? Yeah, no common cold. Definitely tuberculosis. All right. Wednesday, October 22nd. This morning, my mom called my dad where he's staying at the plaza and made him bring the limo over so that I could go to the doctor. This is because when she took my temperature after I woke up, it was 102, just like Gramere's on her wedding day. Only I can tell you I did not feel much like waltzing. I could hardly even get dressed. I was so feverish that I actually put on one of the outfits that Gramere bought me. So there I was in Chanel from head to toe with my eyes all glassy and the sheen of sweat all over me. My dad jumped about 1.5 feet in the air when he saw me. I think for a minute he thought I was Gramere. Of course, I am much taller than Gramere, though my hair isn't as big as hers. It turns out that Dr. Fung is one of the few people in America who hadn't yet heard that I'm a princess, so we had to sit in the waiting room for like 10 minutes before he would see me. My dad spent that 10 minutes talking to the receptionist. That's because she was wearing an outfit that showed her navel, even though it's practically winter. Even though my dad is completely bald and wears a suit all the time instead of khakis like a normal dad, you could tell that the receptionist was completely into him. And that's because in spite of his insipid Europeanness, my dad honestly is still something of a hottie. Lars, who is also a hottie, but like in a different sort of way, being extremely large and hairy and all, sat next to me reading a parenting magazine. I could tell that he would have preferred the latest copy of Soldier of Fortune, but they don't have a subscription to that at the Soho Family Medical Practice. Finally, Dr. Fung saw me. He took my temperature, 101.7, and he felt my glands to see if they were swollen. They were. And then he tried to take a throat culture to check for strep. Only when he jabbed that thing into my throat, it made me gag so hard that I started coughing uncontrollably. I couldn't stop coughing. So I told him between coughs that I was going to get a drink of water. And I think I must have been delusional because of my fever and all, since what I did instead of getting water was walk right out of the doctor's office. I got back into the limo and told the chauffeur to take me back to Emerald Planet right away so that I could get a smoothie. Fortunately, the chauffeur knew better than to take me somewhere without my bodyguard, so he got on the radio and said some stuff, and then Lars came out to the limo with my dad, who asked me what on earth I was doing. I thought I was asking him the exact same thing, only about the receptionist with the pierced belly button, but it hurt too much for me to talk through my throat ache. Dr. Fung was pretty nice about it in the end. He gave up on the throat culture and just prescribed some antibiotics and this cough syrup with codeine in it, but not until one of his nurses had taken a picture of us shaking hands together inside the limo so he could hang it on his wall of celebrity photos. He has pictures of himself up there shaking hands with other famous patients of his like Robert Goulet and Lou Reed. Now that my raging fever has gone down, I can see that I was behaving completely irrationally. I would have to say that the trip to the doctor's office was probably, well, one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. Of course, there have been so many, it's really hard to tell where this one ranks. I think I would chalk it up there with the one time that I accidentally dropped my dinner plate in the buffet line at Lily's bat mitzvah. Everybody kept stepping in for gefilte fish for the rest of the night. Mia Thermopolis' top 5 most embarrassing moments. Number 1, Josh Richter kissing me in front of the whole school while everyone looked at me. Number 2, the time when I was 6 and Grandmere ordered me to hug her sister, Tante Jean Marie, and I started to cry because I was afraid of Jean Marie's mustache and hurt Jean Marie's feelings. Number 3, the time when I was 7 and Grandmere forced me to attend a boring cocktail party that she gave for her friends, and I was so bored that I picked up this little ivory coaster holder which was shaped like a rickshaw, and then I wheeled it around the coffee table making noises like I was speaking in Chinese until all the coasters fell out the back of the rickshaw and rolled around on the floor very noisily and everyone looked at me. This one is even more embarrassing when I think about it now because imitating Chinese people is very rude, not to mention politically incorrect and insensitive. Number 4, the time when I was 10 and Grandmere took me and some of my cousins to the beach and I forgot my bikini top and Grandmere wouldn't let me go back to the chateau to get it. And she said, "This is France, for God's sake. I should just go topless like everybody else." And even though I didn't have anything more up there to show than I do now, I was still mortified and I wouldn't take off my shirt. And everybody looked at me even though they thought I had like a rash or a disfiguring birthmark or shriveled up Siamese twin fetuses hanging off of me. Number 5, the time when I was 12 and I got my first period and I was at Grandmere's house and I had to tell her about it because I didn't have any pads or anything. And then later that night, as I was walked in for dinner, I overheard Grandmere telling all her friends about it. And then for the rest of the night, all they did was make jokes about the wonders of womanhood. Now that I think about it, almost all of the most embarrassing moments of my life have something to do with Grandmere. I wonder what Lily's parents, who are both psychoanalysts, would have to say about that. Temperature chart. 5:20 p.m., 99.3. 6:45 p.m., 99.2. 7:52 p.m., 99.1. Is it possible that I'm getting better already? This is horrible. If I get better, I'm gonna have to go to that stupid interview after all. This calls for drastic measures. Tonight, I fully intend to take a shower and stick my head out the window with my wet hair. Yeah, that'll show them. Thursday, October 23rd. Oh my God, something so exciting just happened that I can hardly write. This morning, I was lying in my sickbed. My mom handed me a letter that she said had come in the mail yesterday, only she forgot to give it to me. This wasn't like the electricity or the cable bills that my mom usually forgets about after they have arrived. No, this was a personal letter to me. Still, since the address on the front of it was typed, I didn't expect anything out of the ordinary. I thought like maybe it was a letter from school or something. Like maybe I'd made honor roll. Yeah, right. Except that there was no return address. Usually mail from Albert Einstein School has Albert Einstein's thoughtful face in the left-hand corner along with like the school's address. So you can imagine my surprise when I opened the letter and found not a flyer asking me to show my school spirit by making Rice Krispie treats to help raise money for the crew team, but the following, which, for want of a better word, I can only call a love letter. Dear Mia, the letter began. I know you will think it's strange receiving a letter like this. I feel strange writing it, and yet I'm too shy to tell you face to face what I'm about to tell you now, and that's that I think you are the jossiest girl I have ever met. I just want to make sure you know that there's one person anyway who liked you long before he found out you were a princess, and I will keep on liking you, no matter what. Sincerely, a friend. Oh my God, I couldn't believe it. I've never gotten a letter like this before. Who could it be from? I seriously couldn't figure it out. The letter was typed, like address on the envelope, not by like a typewriter either, but like obviously on a computer. So even if I wanted to compare keystrokes, say like on a suspect's typewriter, like Jan did on the Brady Bunch when she suspected Alice of sending her that locket, I couldn't. You can't compare the type on laser printers, for God's sakes. It's always the same. But who could have sent me such a thing? Of course,
I know who I want to have sent it to me, but the chances of a guy like Michael Moskovitz ever actually liking me as more than a friend are like zero. I mean, if he liked me, he had the perfect opportunity to say so the night of the cultural diversity dance when he was so nice to me and stepped in and danced with me after Josh Richter dodged me so hard. And we didn't just dance once either. We danced a few times, slow dances too. After the dance, we hung out in his room at the Moskovitz's apartment, and he could have said something then too, if he had wanted to, but he didn't. He didn't say anything about liking me, and why would he? I mean, I'm a complete freak with a noticeable lack of mammary glands, my giantism, and my utter inability to ever mold my hair into something remotely resembling a style. Well, we just got through studying people like me in bio, as a matter of fact. Biological sports were called. A biological sport occurs when an organism shows a marked change from the normal type or parent stock, typically as the result of a mutation. Yep, that's me. That is so totally me. I mean, if you look at me and then you look at my parents, who are both very attractive people, you would be like, what happened? Seriously, I should go live with the X-Men because I'm such a mutant. Besides, is Michael Moskovitz really the type of guy who would say I was the jossiest girl in school? I mean, the lead singer of Josie and the Pussycats, played by Rachel Lee Cook in the movie. Oh, wait, I assume, the Josiest. Oh, Josiest. Okay, I get it now. I was the Josiest girl in school. I mean, I assume the author was referring to Josie, the lead singer of Josie and the Pussycats, as played by Rachel Lee Cook in the movie, except that I in no way resemble Rachel Lee Cook. I wish I did. Josie and the Pussycats started out as a cartoon about a girl band that solves crimes, like on Scooby-Doo, and Michael doesn't even watch the Cartoon Network, at least as far as I know. Michael generally only watches PBS, the Sci-Fi Channel, and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Maybe if the letter had said, I think you are the buffiest girl I'd ever met. But if it isn't from Michael, then who could it be from? This is all so exciting. I want to call someone and tell them, but only who? Everyone I know is in school. Why did I have to get sick? Forget sticking my wet head out the window. I have to get better right away so that I can go back to school and figure out who my secret admirer is. Temperature chart. 10:45 a.m., 99.2. 11:15 a.m., 99.1. 12:27 p.m., 98.6. Yes, I'm getting better. Thank you, Selman Waxman, for inventing the antibiotic. 2:05 p.m., 99.0. Oh, no. 3:35 p.m., 99.1. Why is this happening to me? Oh, hey, Whitney, make sure you check your DMs on Patreon. I sent you a DM last night, so just make sure you check that today if you can. Later, on Thursday. This afternoon, while I was lying around with ice packs under the covers, trying to bring my fever down so I could go to school tomorrow and find out who my secret admirer is, I happened to see the best episode of Baywatch ever. No, really. See, Mitch met this girl with a very fake French accent during a boat race, and they totally fell in love and ran around in the waves to this excellent soundtrack. And then it turned out that the girl was engaged to Mitch's opponent in the boat race. And not only that, she was actually the princess of a small European country that Mitch had never heard of. Her fiance was this prince that her father had betrothed her to at birth. And while I was watching this, Lily came over with my new homework assignments, and she started watching me, and she totally missed the deep philosophical importance of this episode. All she said was, boy, does that royal chick need an eyebrow waxing. And I was appalled. Lily, I croaked, can't you see that this episode of Baywatch is prophetic? It's entirely possible that I have been betrothed since birth to some prince that I've never met, and my dad just hasn't told me yet. And I could very likely meet some lifeguard on the beach and fall madly in love with him, but it won't matter because I'll have to do my duty and marry a man that my people have picked out for me. Lily said, hello, exactly how much of that cough medicine have you had today? It says 1 teaspoon every 4 hours, not tablespoon, you Dorcas. I was annoyed that Lily was failing to see the bigger picture. I couldn't, of course, tell her about the letter I'd gotten because, what if her brother was the one who wrote it? I wouldn't want him thinking that I'd gone blabbing to everyone I knew about it. A love letter is a very private thing. But still, you would think that she would be able to see this from my perspective. Don't you understand? I rasped. What's the point of me liking anybody when it's entirely possible that my dad has arranged a marriage for me with some prince that I've never met? Some guy who lives in like Dubai or somewhere, who gazes at my picture daily and longs for the day when he can finally make me his own. Lily said she thought I had been reading too many of my friend Tina Hakeem Babab's teen romances. I will admit, that is sort of where I got the idea, but that's not the point. Seriously, Lily, I said, I have to guard diligently against falling in love with somebody like David Hasselhoff or your brother, because in the end, I might have to marry Prince William. Not that that would be such a big sacrifice at all. Lily got up off my bed and stomped around the room and out into the living room of the loft. My dad was the only one around because when he'd come over to check on me, my mom had suddenly remembered she had an errand that she had to do and dashed off to get it done. Only, of course, there was no errand. My mom still hasn't told my dad about Mr. G and her pregnancy and how they're getting married and all that, and I think she's afraid that he might start yelling at her for being so irresponsible, which honestly I could totally see him doing. So instead, she flees from my dad in guilt every time she sees them. It would almost be funny if it wasn't such a pathetic way for a 36-year-old woman for her to behave. When I am 36 years old, I fully intend to be self-actualized, so you will not catch me doing any of the things that my mother is always doing. Mr. Ronaldo. No, nope, 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 nope. Mr. Ronaldo, I heard Lily say as we went into the living room. She calls my dad Mr. Ronaldo, even though she knows perfectly well that he's the Prince of Genovia. She doesn't care, though. She says because this is America, she isn't calling anybody Your Highness, and she's fundamentally opposed to the monarchies and the principalities, like Genovia, falling under that heading. So Lily believes that sovereignty rests with the people. In colonial times, she probably would have been branded a Whig. Mr. Ronaldo, I heard her ask my dad, is Mia secretly betrothed to some prince somewhere? My dad lowered his newspaper. I could hear it crinkling all the way from my bedroom. Good God, no, he said. Moron, she said to me when she came stomping back into my room. And while I can see why you might want to guard diligently against falling in love with David Hasselhoff, who, by the way, is old enough to be your father, and hardly a hottie, what does my brother have to do with any of this? Too late. I realized now what I had said. Lily has no idea how I feel about her brother Michael. Actually, I don't really even have any idea how I feel about him either, except that he looks extremely Casper Van Dien with his shirt off. I so want him to be the one who'd written that letter. I really, really do. But I'm not about to mention that to his sister. So instead, I told her I think it's unfair of her to demand explanations for stuff that I said under the influence of codeine cough syrup. Lily just got that expression that she sometimes gets when her teachers ask questions and she knows the answer, only she wants to give someone else in class the chance to answer for a change. It really can be exhausting sometimes having a best friend with an IQ of 170. Homework. Algebra, problems 1 through 20, page 115. English, chapter 4 of Strunk and White. World Civ, 200-word essay on the conflict between India and Pakistan. Gifted and talented. Yeah, right. French, chapter 8. Biology, pituitary gland. Ask Kenny. Lily Moskovitz and Mia Thermopolis' list of celebrities and their breasts. Celebrity. Britney Spears. Lily thinks they're fake. Mia thinks they're real. Lindsay Lohan. Lily, fake. Mia, real. Angelina Jolie. Lily, fake. Mia, real. Gwen Stefani. Lily, fake. Mia, fake. Jennifer Aniston. Lily, fake. Mia, real. Paris Hilton, fake, fake. Beyonce, fake, real. Scarlett Johansson, fake, real. Sarah Michelle Gellar, real, real. Christina Aguilera, fake, real. Sienna Miller, real, real. Ashley Simpson, fake, real. Mariah Carey, fake, fake. The things that teenage girls do, I tell you what. Ah, yes, Strunk and White. I had a book in college called Goodbye, Strunk and White. All right. Even later on Thursday. After dinner, I felt well enough to get out of bed, and so I did. I checked my email, and I was hoping there might be something from my mysterious friend, because if he knew my snail mail address, I figured he would know my email address too. Both are listed in the school directory, after all. Tina Hakeem Baba was one of the people who had emailed me. She sent me get well wishes, and so did Shamika. And Shamika tried to mention that she was trying to talk her father into letting her have a Halloween party, and that if she succeeded, would I please come? I wrote back to say, of course, if I wasn't too weak from coughing, I would come. There was also a message from Michael. It was a get well message too, but it was animated, like a little film. It showed a cat that looked a lot like Fat Louie doing a get well dance. Honestly, it was very cute, and it was signed, Love, Michael. Not sincerely, not yours truly, Love. I played it 4 times, but I still couldn't tell whether he was the one who'd sent me the letter or not. The letter, I noticed, never once mentioned the word love. The sender said he liked me, and he signed it sincerely, but there was no love, not one hint of love. And then I saw the message from someone whose email address I didn't recognize. Oh my God, could it be anonymous like my liker? My fingers were trembling on my mouse. And then I opened it and saw the following message from Joe Croc. Joe Croc. Just a note to say, I hope you're feeling better. Missed you in school today. Did you get my letter? I hope it made you feel at least a little better knowing that someone out there thinks that you rock. Get well soon. Your friend. Oh my God, it's him, my anonymous admirer. But who is Joe Crocs? I don't know anyone named Joe Crocs. He says he misses me in school today, which means he might be in a class with me, but there's no Joe in any of my classes. Maybe Joe Crocs isn't his real name. In fact, Joe Crocs doesn't really sound like a real name at all. Maybe it actually stands for Jock Rocks. Huh. But I don't know any of the jocks either. I mean, like, not personally. Oh, no, wait, I get it. Josie Rocks. Josie Rocks. Oh my God, Josie from Josie and the Pussycats. That's just so cute. But who is it? Who is it? I figured that this was their only one way to find out. So I wrote back right away. Dear friend, I got your letter. Thank you so much. Thank you for all the get well wishes. Who are you? I swear I won't tell anyone. Mia. I sat around for about a half an hour hoping he would write back, but he never did. Who is it? Who is it? I have got to get well by tomorrow so that I can go to school and figure out who Josie Rocks is. Otherwise, I will just go mental like Mel Gibson's girlfriend in Hamlet and end up floating in my Lawns of Salzburg nightie in the Hudson with the rest of the medical waste. Friday, October 24th, algebra. I am better. Well, actually, I don't really feel all that great, but I don't care. I don't have a temperature, so my mother had no choice but to let me go to school. There was no way that I was going to lie in bed another day, not with Josie Rocks out there somewhere possibly loving me, but so far, nothing. I mean, we swung by Lily's in the limo to pick her up as usual, and Michael was with her and all, but by the casual way he said hello to me, you would hardly have known that he ever sent me a get well email signed Love Michael, let alone ever called me the Josiest girl he's ever met, so it's very clear that he's not Josie Rocks. And the love at the end of his email was just like platonic love. I mean, Michael's love obviously didn't mean that he actually loves me. Not that I ever thought he did or might love me, I mean. He did walk me to my locker, though. This was extremely nice of him. Granted, we were in the middle of a heated discussion about Tuesday's episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but still, no boy has ever walked me to my locker before. Boris Pulowski still meets Lily at the front doors of the school and walks her to her locker every single morning, and has done so every day since she agreed to be his girlfriend. Okay, I admit that Boris Pulowski is a mouth breather who continues to tuck his sweaters into his pants despite my frequent hints that in America this is considered a glamour don't. But still, he's a boy, and it is always cool to have a boy, even one who wears a retainer, walk you to your locker. I know I have Lars, but it's different having your bodyguard walk you to your locker as opposed to like an actual boy. I just noticed that Lana Weinberger has purchased all new notebook binders. I guess she threw away the old ones. She had written Mrs. Josh Richter all over them, and then she crossed it out when Josh broke up with her, and they're back together now. So I guess she's willing once again to have her identity obfuscated by taking her husband's name, since she's already got 3 I Love Joshes and 7 Mrs. Josh Richters on her algebra notebook alone. Before class started, Lana was telling everyone who would listen about some party that she's going to tonight. None of us are invited, of course. It's a party given by one of Josh's friends. I never get invited to parties like that. You know, the ones in the teen movies where somebody's parents go out of town so everybody in school comes over with a keg of beer and trashes the house. I do not know anybody who lives in a house. Just apartment buildings. And if you start trashing an apartment, you can bet the people next door will call the doorman to complain. That could get you into major trouble with the co-op board. I don't suppose that Lana ever considered these things, however. The third power of x is called cube of x. The second power of x is squared. Ode to the view from my algebra class window. Sun-warmed concrete benches next to tables with built-in checkerboards, and the graffiti left by hundreds before us in day-glow spray paint. Joanne loves Richie. Punks rule. Nude F-word and L-word, and Amber is a slut. The dead leaves and plastic bags scatter in the breeze from the park, and men in business suits try to keep the last few remaining strands of hair covering their pink bald spots. Cigarette packages and used-up chewing gum coat the gray sidewalk, and I think, what does it matter? That is not a linear equation. If any variable is raised to a power, we're all just going to die anyway. Very dramatic for algebra class. Friday, October 24th, World Civ. List 5 basic types of government: anarchy, monarchy, aristocracy, dictatorship, oligarchy, and democracy. List 5 people who could conceivably be Joe C. Rocks: Michael Moskowitz, I wish. Boris Pawlowski, please no. Mr. Gianni, in a misguided attempt to cheer me up. My dad, same. That weird boy that I see sometimes in the cafeteria who gets so upset whenever they serve chili and there's corn in it, please don't let it be him. Ugh! Friday, October 24th, gifted and talented. It turns out that since I've been gone, Boris has started learning some new music on his violin. Like right now he's playing a concerto by someone named Bartok, and let me tell you, that's exactly how it sounds. Even though we locked him and his violin into the supply closet, it isn't doing any good. You can't even hear yourself think in here. Michael had to go to the nurse's office for ibuprofen. But before he left, I tried to steer the conversation in the direction of mail. You know, like casually and all, just in case. Anyway, Lily was talking about her show, Lily Tells It Like It Is, and I asked her if she's still getting a lot of fan mail. One of her biggest fans, her stalker Norman, sends her free stuff all the time with the understanding that he wants her to show her bare feet on the air. Norman's a foot fetishist. And then I mentioned that I'd received some intriguing mail lately, and then I looked at Michael really fast to see how he would respond. But he didn't even glance up from his laptop. And now he's back from the nurse's office, and she wouldn't give him any ibuprofen because it's a violation of the school's drug codes. So I gave him some of my codeine cough syrup, and he said it cleared his headache up right away. But that might have also been because Boris knocked over a can of paint thinner on with his bow, and we had to let him out of the supply closet. Here's what I have to do. Number 1, stop thinking so much about Josie Rocks. Number 2, ditto about Michael Moskowitz. Number 3, ditto about my mom and her reproductive issues. Number 4, ditto about my interview tomorrow with Beverly Belvedere. Number 5, ditto about Grammere. Number 6, have more self-confidence. Number 7, stop biting off my fake fingernails. Number 8, self-actualization. Number 9, pay more attention in algebra. Number 10, wash your PE shorts. Later on Friday. Talk about embarrassing. Principal Gupta somehow found out about my giving Michael some of my codeine cough syrup, and I got called out of bio and sent to her office to discuss my trafficking of controlled substances on school grounds. Oh my God, I really and truly thought that I was going to get expelled right then and there. I explained to her about the ibuprofen and Bartok, and Principal Gupta was totally unsympathetic. Even when I brought up all the kids who stand outside and smoke, do they get in trouble for bumming cigarettes off one another? And what about the cheerleaders and their Dexatrim? But Principal Gupta says that cigarettes and Dexatrim are different from narcotics, and she took my codeine cough syrup away and told me that she would have to give it back to me after school. She also told me not to bring it to school on Monday. She doesn't have to worry. I was so embarrassed about the whole thing. I'm seriously considering never coming back to school at all, let alone on Monday. I don't see why I can't be homeschooled, just like the boys from Hanson. Look how well they turned out. Homework. Algebra problems on page 129. English. Describe an experience that moved you profoundly. World Civ. 200 words on the rise of the Taliban in Afghanistan. Gifted and talented, please. French. Devoir. Les notes grammaticales 141 to 143. Biology. Central nervous system. English journal. My favorite things. Food. Vegetarian lasagna. Movie. My favorite movie of all time is one that I first saw on HBO when I was 12. It has remained my favorite movie in spite of all my friends and family's effort to introduce me to so-called finer examples of cinematic art. Quite frankly, I think that Dirty Dancing, starring Patrick Swayze and a pre-nose job Jennifer Grey, has everything films like Breathless and September created by supposed Breathless and September, created by supposed amateurs of the medium, lack. For example, Dirty Dancing takes place at a summer resort. Movies that take place in resorts, other good examples include Cocktail and Aspen Extreme, are just plain better. I've also noticed that I like them more than other movies. Also, Dirty Dancing has dancing. Dancing in movies is always good. Think about how much better Oscar award-winning films like The English Patient would be if they had dancing in them. I am always much less bored at the movies when there are people dancing on the screen. So all I have to say to the many, many people who disagree with me about Dirty Dancing is nobody puts baby in the corner. TV show. My favorite TV show is Baywatch. I know people think it's very lame and sexist, but it actually isn't. The boys are just as scantily clad as the girls, and in later episodes at least, a woman is in charge of the whole lifeguarding operation. And the truth of the matter is, whenever I watch the show, I feel happy. And that's because I know whatever jam Hobby gets into, whether it's a gigantic electric eel or emerald smugglers, Mitch will get him out of it. And everything will be done to an excellent soundtrack with stunning shots of the ocean. I wish there was a Mitch in my life to make everything all right at the end of the day. Also, I wish that my breasts were as big as Carmen Electra's. Book. My favorite book is called IQ 83. It's by the best-selling author of The Swarm, Arthur Herzog. IQ 83 is about a bunch of doctors who mess around with DNA, and they unwittingly cause an accident that makes everyone in the world lose a bunch of IQ points and start acting dumb. Seriously, even the President of the United States, he ends up drooling like an idiot, and it's up to Dr. James Healy to save the country from being populated by a bunch of overweight morons who do nothing but watch Jerry Springer and eat ho-hos all day. This book has never really gotten the attention that it should receive. I think it should be made into a movie. This is a literary travesty. Later, on Friday. What am I supposed to do about this stupid English journal assignment? Describe an experience that moved you profoundly? Yeah, I'm so sure. What do I write about? The time that I walked in the kitchen and found my algebra teacher standing there in his underwear? That didn't move me exactly, but it certainly was an experience. Yeah, right? The movie's WALL-E. Yeah, nice. I was thinking that. I was like, oh, it's WALL-E, people. Or should I talk about the time that my dad spilled his guts about how it turns out that I'm the heir of the throne of a principality of Genovia? That was an experience, although I don't know if it was profound, even though I was crying. I don't think it was because I was moved. I think I was just mad that nobody had ever told me before. I mean, I guess I can understand that it might be embarrassing for him to have to admit to the Genovian people that he had a child out of wedlock, but to hide that fact for 14 years? Talk about denial. My bio partner, Kenny, who also has Mrs. Spears for English, says that he's going to write about his family's trip to Indiana last summer. He contracted cholera there and nearly died. And as he lay in his hospital bed in that far-off foreign land, he realized that we're only on this planet for a short while and that it's vital that we use every moment we have left as if it's our last. That's why Kenny's devoting his life to finding a cure for cancer and promoting Japanese anime. Kenny's so lucky. If only I could contract a potentially fatal disease. I'm beginning to realize that the only thing profound about my life so far is the complete and utter lack of profundity. Jefferson Market, the freshest produce guaranteed, fast and free delivery. Order number 2764. This is what they ordered in case anyone is curious. 1 package of soybean curd, 1 bottle of wheat germ, 1 whole leaf grain bread, 5 grapefruits, 12 oranges, 1 bunch of bananas, 1 package of brewer's yeast, 1 quart of skim milk, 1 quart of orange juice, just not from concentrate, 1 pound of butter, Jesus, a pound of butter, 1 dozen eggs, 1 bag unsalted sunflower seeds, 1 box whole grain cereal, toilet paper, Q-tips, delivered to Mia Thermopolis, 1005 Thompson Street. Saturday, October 25th. 2 p.m. Gramere's Suite. I'm sitting here waiting for my interview. In addition to my throat hurting, I feel like I'm going to throw up. Maybe my bronchitis has turned into the flu or something like that. Maybe the falafel that I ordered for dinner last night was made from rotten chickpeas or something. Or maybe I'm just totally nervous since this interview is going to be broadcast to approximately 22 million homes on Monday night. Although I find it very hard to believe that 22 million families could possibly be interested in anything that I have to say. I read that when Prince William gets interviewed, he gets questions like a week before, so he has time to think of really smart and incisive answers. Apparently, members of the Genovian royal family are not extended the same courtesy. Not even with a week's worth of notice could I ever think of anything smart and incisive. Well, okay, maybe smart, but definitely not incisive. Well, probably not even smart either, depending on what they ask anyway. So I'm sitting here and I really do feel like I'm going to throw up, and I wish that I could hurry up and get this over with. It was supposed to start 2 hours ago, but Grammy isn't satisfied with the way the cosmetic technician, just called a makeup lady, did my eyes. She says I look like a poupette, which means hooker in French, or chicken. But when my grandma says it, she always means hooker. Why can't I have a nice normal grandma who makes goulash and thinks that I look wonderful no matter what I have on? Lily's grandma has never even said the word hooker in her life, even in Yiddish. I know that for a fact. So the makeup lady had to go down to the hotel gift shop and see if they had any blue eyeshadow, because Grammy says she wants blue because it matches my eyes, except that my eyes are gray. I wonder if Grammy is colorblind. That would explain an awful lot. I met Beverly Belvedere. That's right. The only good thing I can say about this is she actually seems semi-human. She told me that if she asked anything that I felt was too personal or embarrassing, that I could just say, I don't want to answer. Isn't that really nice of her? Plus, she is very beautiful. You should see my dad. I can already tell that Beverly's going to be this week's girlfriend. Well, she's better than the women he usually hangs around with. At least Beverly looks like she probably isn't wearing a thong, as if her brainstem is fully functional too. So, considering that Beverly turns out to be so nice and all, you'd think I wouldn't be so nervous. And truthfully, I'm not so sure it's just the interview that's making me feel like I'm gonna hurl. It's actually something that my dad said to me when I came in. It was the first time that I'd seen him since the time he spent at the loft while I was sick. And anyway, he asked me how I was feeling and all, and I lied and I said fine. And then he said, Mia, is your algebra teacher? And all I said was, is my algebra teacher what? Thinking that he was going to ask me if Mr. Gianni was teaching me about parallel numbers, but that is so totally not what he asked me. Instead, he said, is your algebra teacher living in the loft? Well, I was so shocked that I did not know what to say, because of course Mr. Gianni isn't living there. I mean, not really. He will be, and probably pretty shortly too. So I just went, no. And my dad looked relieved. He actually looked relieved. So how's he gonna look when he finds out the truth about all this? It's very hard to concentrate on the fact that I'm about to be interviewed by this world-renowned television news journalist when all I can think about is how my poor dad is going to feel when he finds out that my mother is marrying my algebra teacher and also having his baby. Not that I think my dad still loves my mom or anything like that. It's just that, as Lily once pointed out, his chronic bed hopping is clearly an indication that he has some serious intimacy issues. And with Grammy as a mother, you can see why that might be. I think he really would like to have what my mom has with Mr. Gianni. Who knows how he's going to take the news about their impending marriage. And when my mom finally works up the guts to tell him, he might completely freak out. He might even want me to come live with him in Genovia to comfort him from his grief. And of course I'll have to say yes, because he is my dad and I love him and all that. And so I don't really want to live in Genovia. I mean, I would miss Lily and Tina Hakim Baba and all my other friends. And what about Josie Rocks? How would I ever find out who he is? And what about Fat Louie? Would I get to keep him or what? He's very well behaved. I mean, except when it comes to ingesting socks and other sparkly objects like that. And if there was a rodent problem in the castle, he would totally solve it. But what if they don't let cats in the palace? I mean, he hasn't had his claws removed, so if there's any sort of valuable furniture or tapestries or whatever, you can pretty much kiss those goodbye. Huh. Mr. G and my mom are really talking about where his stuff's gonna go when he moves into the loft. And Mr. G has some really cool sounding stuff, like a foosball table and a drum set. Who knew that Mr. G was musical? Anyway, he also has a pinball machine and a 36-inch flat screen TV. I'm not even kidding. He's way cooler than I ever thought he was. If I move to Genovia, I'm totally going to miss out on having my own foosball table. But if I don't move to Genovia, who'll comfort my poor dad in his chronic loneliness? Oh, oops. The cosmetic technician's back with the blue eyeshadow. I swear I'm going to heave. Good thing I was too nervous to eat anything all day. She's ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. So, that is today's reading. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. A lot of orders are going out today. What percent are we at? That is a good question. What percentage are we at? We are at 31. Does anyone know Sasha really well? Me? I know Sasha really well. What's the question? I would, I think I'm the best person to answer that. So I am going to go get orders done, take them to the post office. Tomorrow night we have Roll for Slime After Dark. Don't forget that. I love her too, obviously. Obviously. She's wackadoodle, but she speaks to my soul in a way that cannot be explained in words. I am going to get that all done for y'all. We have Roll for Slime After Dark tomorrow. Roll for Slime videos and custom videos can that's funny, Liz. That's funny. So I will see you all tomorrow for book club and then Roll for Slime. But some Roll for Slime and custom videos will be made today, so expect those. And that's pretty much the whole kit and caboodle. So I'll see you all tomorrow, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye, guys.